Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. My guest today is Sammy the Bull. Yes, he is the notorious underboss for the Gambino crime family. We hear his life story and so much pertaining to what he did during his time with organized crime, what he's doing now, his rise through the underground empire and everything that he became. It really was a fascinating conversation, and to hear it from somebody with such an intimate knowledge of that world, something that I know nothing about. It was a real education for me, just to hear from the perspective of somebody who is so deeply intricate in a world like organized crime. Hope you guys enjoy it.
This episode of Becoming the 1% podcast.
Entrepreneurial.
We got some really big things coming.
You have to have the willingness.
It's an A or B.
Try and use it as a tool.
Define who I am.
This is phenomenal.
All details make up a person. It's what we believe in the industry.
How is it that you first found the value in social media? What made that transition happen for you?
When I got out in 2017, I got out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about this. They didn't have phones when I went to prison. I did almost 18 years straight. There was no phones. All of this stuff, YouTube didn't exist when I went in prison. And when I came out, all these things were here. My son started talking to me about, we were going to do a podcast. And I had a friend of mine, James Carroll.
Yes.
He came down and he was talking to me for Mark Wahlberg. We were doing something together.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I'm doing this podcast. Could you help me with it? Me and James hooked up and we started doing it. And first conversation, he said, when we started talking about the story of my life, he said, we're going to get 25 million views.
Wow.
So I started laughing. I says, I know for sure, I think I could get 18 people, but 25 million I think is off the table. I don't know. And as of today, I think we have 114 million views.
Wow.
Very cool.
I was watching your Patrick Bet-David interview as well, and that one had like millions and millions of views as well.
Well, he just did something and talked about me. He says, I got one of the highest views, and he interviewed so many, the biggest people around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have 21 million views.
Yeah, you do.
On his,
That's it, yeah.
on his podcast.
That's outstanding.
And we just met him recently, and he was telling me, you know the number? I said, not really. I know it was up to 17, 18. He says it's at 21 million.
Wow.
So
It's powerful.
yeah, it is powerful.
It's very powerful to get your message out. Starting, I want to kind of take things back and get at the beginning, and I really do mean the beginning. You are one of the most fascinating people that I've ever interviewed personally, and digging into your backstory for me was so incredibly just gripping. I really found it fascinating. Starting, I mean, at your childhood, how could you describe your upbringing and what it led to your ultimate destination as an adult?
Well, when I was young, I'm dyslexic, and I had trouble in school. I got left back in the 4th grade, 7th grade. I never got out of the 8th grade. And I was physical, had a lot of fights in school.
Mm-hmm.
And they threw me out of regular school. I went to 600 school. And from there, they threw me out of 600 school. They said the next step is reform school. So take him out. When he's 16 years old, come back. They told my parents and sign him out officially, and we won't do anything against him. And that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And I had joined the gang, the Rampers, young guys, and we fought. We did all kinds of stupid shit. Mm-hmm. And it was like we knew the Mafia was in a neighborhood. Our neighborhood was entrenched with the Mafia. Mm-hmm. We knew who they were. We knew they were dangerous, so we didn't fuck around with them or do anything. And it was like us against the world type of bullshit.
And your neighborhood was which neighborhood specifically?
Bensonhurst, Brooklyn.
Got it. And that part of the neighborhood, did it have a long history of Mafia members that lived there?
Oh, every heavyweight. Joe Gravano came from there. Joe Colombo came from there. Frankie Ale came from there. Mm-hmm. Even Al Capone for a while was there, and then they threw him out and sent him to Chicago. They threw him out of New York. Mm-hmm. So there was all big names all over the place. As a kid, we would shoot pool in the pool room. Everybody ran to the window. What's going on? Joe Bonanno was coming out of a bar, and all duked up with a fedora and a white scarf around his neck and a long overcoat. I mean, they were idols to us, but we wanted to stay away from them.
Sure.
So, because we had a lot of problems, with them on occasion, they owned everything. Every bar was connected, every disco was connected. So, and us, we were always in trouble. So after a while, we were thrown out of every place. We couldn't go anywhere. And so I did all of that. And when I was 19, I got drafted into the military. I was arrested a number of times already. Bullshit crimes. We were going to build a pigeon coop. We broke into a lumber yard to steal the lumber. We didn't have money to buy lumber, so we stole it. And we got caught. We didn't get caught. Two of us ran, and I ran in a different direction. Schmucko gets caught. I got caught. And they brought me to a police station, and they wanted to know who the other two guys were. And I wouldn't give it up. And I caught. In those days, they beat you to a pulp. Took a terrific
police.
beat. Yeah, the police. I took a terrific beating. And when I got out, mob guys, hey, come here, Sammy, come here. You stood up. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. So I got to know them. They knew my mother and father. I had two sisters, and they knew us. When I was a kid, my father and mother didn't have a lot of money. They bought me a Schwinn bike. It was like the elite bike you can buy. My father says, we're broke. You got to take care of your bike. And I went to a store. I left it outside. Somebody stole it. And I was sick. And 2 days later, one of my friends came running to me. They said, Sammy, your bike is down the block with these two older kids. I think I was 10. One was 12 and one was 13. And, it's when you have that age gap, when you're a kid, it's a big deal. So I went, I grabbed the bike. They didn't want to give it up. I was fighting my brains out, crying, bleeding, but I wouldn't let go of the bike, and I kept fighting. Then there was gangsters across the street in the bar watching, and they came over, and they said, you're Jerry and Kay's son. What's your name? I said, Sammy. He says to the kids, listen, this is his bike. No, it's ours. Go get your father and come back with your father, and we'll give you the bike. But he said it's his. And they took off. It wasn't theirs. They stole it. And they didn't come back. And one of the guys in the bar yelled across, what's going on? He said he's Jerry and Kay's son, Sammy. You see the way he fought like a little bull. That name stuck with me forever. When I got older, cops were looking for me. When I got busted, my name was in the paper, Sammy the Bull. Till today, I hated it at first, but it was like, it became my name.
Yeah.
So when I was 19, I got drafted into the military, and during the Vietnam War. And I went in the military, and I went through the whole thing. I was never shipped to Vietnam, because when my company and my people were going to go, there was a list, we're going, and the names were on it. My name and a whole bunch of guys' names weren't on it. And we went in and said, why ain't we going? So they said, you have to serve a year over there. I only had 8 months left. And then they're going to put you on a ship, and then they're going to ship you back. So I would have only been there for like 6 months. So they don't even send you. Which in a way, it was a good thing. I wanted to go because we were all friends. My friends are going, why ain't I going?
Yeah.
Didn't realize the dangers and stuff. I mean, I knew, but I didn't care. And when I came out, it wasn't us against the world. I was right back with the Rampers. I went in 1964. I came out in 1966. And all my friends hooked up with somebody. Somebody with the Genovese, somebody with the Lucchese family, somebody with the Colombo family.
At what age?
Well, I went in at 19. I came out at 21.
Okay, so you're 21.
I'm 21 years old. And a friend of mine, Tommy Spiro, said, my uncle wants to talk to you. And I knew who they were. They were in the war with the Gallo War. They were with Carmine Persico. And I met him. And he said, Sammy, you're a tough kid. You're going to hit the wrong guy one day, you're going to get killed. You have nobody behind you. You come with us, you're with a family, you're with us, we'll protect you, we'll school you. Everything I wanted to hear, family, trust, the bond, the relationship with guys, and everybody hooked up. So it was, I said, okay. And I hooked up with Shorty Spiro, who took me down to Carmine Persico, and I was with the Colombo family. And that's a while later, Shorty called me in, and this guy, Joe Colucci, his wife was hot. She was running around with guys and cheating on him. And she was cheating with my friend Tommy Spiro, Shorty's nephew. And he was part of the crew, Joe Colucci. And he grabbed one of the guys, this guy Frankie, and said, listen, I need your help. So Frankie said, what do you want to do? He says, I want to kill Shorty Spiro, the boss, and I want to kill Sammy. So we all knew about the wife. And Frankie told him, why do you want to kill Sammy?
Yeah.
He's not fucking your wife. Why do you want to kill him? He says, I want to kill Shorty and him to cause confusion. He says, let's face it, if I killed this Tommy Spiro, Shorty will know. And who's he going to send to kill me? Sammy. So I killed the two of them. There's confusion. 6 months down the road, I'll get this fucking kid and I'll eat him. So he had a plan. But Frankie didn't buy it. He went straight to Shorty Spiro and told him. Shorty went to Carmine Persico, who went to Joe Colombo. Joe Colombo said to Carmine Persico, kill this Joe Colucci. That plot is a good plot, but he's got to go.
That's enough. Even just planning an execution like that is enough
without a
in a
doubt.
family to get yourself whacked.
Without a doubt.
Got it.
And Carmine Persico told Shorty Spiro, let Sammy go do this.
At this time, had you done anything like this before?
No,
I mean, never.
I never killed anybody.
Okay. Because you're 21 still at this age.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit, maybe a little bit more than 21. But no, fights, bats, pipes, gang fights, bullshit like that. But never killed anybody. I never even dreamt to kill anybody. But I knew in this life, that's what they did, the mob. So I knew sooner or later that would come.
Sure.
So when he called me in and he told me, you got this hit. You got to do it. And he told me the whole story. He said, you want to take one or two of the guys with you? So I said, yeah. I said, I want to take your nephew, Tommy. He was he created this whole fucking monster. Let him be on the hit. And I want Frankie on the hit. The reason I wanted Frankie on the hit, I wanted to make sure I wasn't being bullshitted that this guy, I couldn't understand why the fuck he wanted to kill me. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't just being bullshitted to go do something.
Yeah.
So he gave me those two guys, and I grabbed Frankie, and I says, Frankie, why didn't you come to me and tell me what the fuck he was trying to plan? He said, Sammy, I saved your life. I did the right thing. Shorty's the boss. I went to him. And I thought about it, and he was right. He did save my life.
Because if he had come to you directly, that would have been a violation of the pecking order.
Protocol and
Protocol.
the pecking order, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. Yes. And in his mind, he was doing the right thing. He went to the boss, and he told the boss, this is what Joe Colucci is asking me to do. And that's how the whole thing came down. So one night, when we were going out, we were trying to get a spot. One night, we were in an after-hour club, and we were going to go to this 24-hour diner, like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And we did go to the diner, the famous diner on 86th Street in Brooklyn. And Joe Colucci went downstairs to go to the bathroom. And I told Tommy and Frankie, we were all together. I said, when we get to the car, Tommy, you drive. Frankie, you get in the back with me, and Joe Colucci could sit in the front, and I'll take him out. And he came up, and that's just the way we got in the car. The car was going down the block. I remember the Beatles song was on, Let It Be. He had the thing, Tommy was very nervous, and he had the thing real loud, like I was going to solve something. And as we went down the block, I took out my gun and I shot him in the back of the head. He shook a little bit, but nothing. I looked, it's the first time I killed anybody. I looked at the gun, and like, how the fuck nothing happened? And I shot him again. Then he started to slide over to the side, to the window. So I told Tommy, lower that fucking radio. Don't speed, don't go through lights, and go to Queens, go down the highway. Get away from this neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we drove out there, and we went into a neighborhood. It was more plush. It wasn't, it was nice homes, grass around it, little space, little countries. So as we were driving over there, I told him, pull over here. We pulled over. It was late at night, dark. All the houses, the lights, everything were out. I says, open the door and push him out. Tommy went to touch him, and he says, Sammy, he's dead. He was shooken up real bad.
Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, I know he's dead. Frankie, open up the window. There was no electric. He rolled the windows. He rolled the window down. I went over him, went out the window, went to the passenger side, opened up the door, put one arm under his neck, one arm under his legs, picked him up, and I remember dead weight is much heavier. He felt like he was 1,000 pounds to me. I was pretty strong, but I picked him up, got him out, threw him on the grass, got back in the car. Don't move. I opened up the window, I pointed the gun out, and I shot him 3 more times. But when my hand hit the seat, all that blood was in the seat. My hand, everything was a mess of blood. I said, let's go back. Stop near the ocean. I'm going to throw the gun in the water, and then we'll go back and clean up the car. And we'll get rid of our clothes and everything like that, and we'll go to bed.
And the body is just on the side of the road?
Yes.
Yes.
Almost on the people's lawn.
Wow.
There's a piece of lawn, then the sidewalk, and then the lawn.
Yes.
He was on that piece of grass. Just, I got him just out of the car, plopped him on that part of it. And I remember going back. Somebody was taking the clothes and getting rid of them. And I was in the shower, taking a shower. And the water was running around on my head. I always saw in these movies when a guy was going to do something like that, he was nervous, he's shaking and this and that. So I thought that was going to happen to me. And I was in the shower waiting for that to happen. But it didn't happen. I got out of the shower, dried myself. I went into the bed. We were all living together, about 5, 6 of us. And I slept like a baby. The next morning I woke up with some of the girls and people coming up. Oh my God, they found Joe Colucci killed in Queens and all this stuff. I remember asking one of the girls, I said, do they know who did it? No, there's an investigation, but they don't know. It's in the papers. And then everybody went down to the corner to hang out. And I went down. And I was wondering why nothing happened. I didn't have any feelings about it, anything.
Any idea why that is or why that was?
No, and not at that time. I had no idea. But when I went down, I had almost like an out-of-body experience. I felt like I was way above the kids all talking and bullshitting on the corner and everything and talking about him and what the hell happened and all this stuff. And I was just watching it. It felt like I was watching it from a distance. And then Tommy had come. And he says, Sammy, Shorty's coming down in the car. So I came out of it. And I went with him in the car. He wanted to go down to see Carmine Persico himself.
Who was the boss at the time?
Was right under Joe Colombo. He was a captain, a very powerful captain in the war with the gallows, all that shit. It was over a little bit, the first part of it.
Sure.
And I got in the car and I went down there and Shorty said, Sammy, don't talk. Let my nephew explain. So he explained the whole thing without him being nervous and all that stuff, obviously. I didn't care. And Carmine Persico gave me a hug and a kiss. Great job. Go back to the neighborhood. Keep your mouth shut. Did you destroy the car, get rid of the car? I said, yeah, I'm doing that today. They wanted me to get rid of the car. In other words, we cleaned it. I was young and not realizing that they can go in there with chemicals and stuff. You can find blood. You could find things. I wasn't that experienced. I just...
Yeah.
And I did get rid of the car.
In what way? How does one get rid of a car?
You just burn it to a crisp.
Got it.
Soak the whole fucking thing with gas, throw a fucking thing in there, it's gone. DNA, everything is gone.
Yeah.
So you're better off. The car's found, it's stolen. Even if they put two and two together, there's nothing in the car. So the car is gone. But if you're driving around with the car and they stop and somebody put something together and they do all that fancy DNA bullshit and all that stuff, I would have that. So I learned really early, you got to get rid of it.
The concept of being blooded into a gang is one that I've read up on a little bit. How important or how common is your first hit when you are coming up in the Italian Mafia? Is that something that everyone is required to do, or are there guys that make it up to the position that you were in having never committed something like that?
Very rare that somebody didn't commit a murder. Now, I understood later on you want a guy to commit a murder because now he's one of you. He has as much to lose as anybody else. We know for sure he's not an agent. An agent or an undercover cop is not going to be allowed to kill somebody.
Of course.
So we know he's not an agent or a cop. He's one of us, and he fits in. We're all basically killers. Now, the exception of that, if your father was making you, you could understand a guy who would want to make his son and maybe keep him away from doing some of those things. You know, I would, if it was my son,
Yes.
I understand that. So those guys, you know, got away with not doing a piece of work. But other guys would say, you know, this guy never broke, you know, he never broke his cherry, bro.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get a little bit of a label for that. But once you did it, you know, everybody can do it. You know, whether he's, and now a mere hit, I've started to become a planner. So it wasn't important who could pull the trigger. We all could pull the trigger. But we're all not going to shoot him. Let's say all of us in this room. So, you know, I'm going to shoot him. You're going to drive a crash car. You're going to be a backup shooter. You're going to do this. Everybody has a position now. It's not just to do the hit. It's to protect the shooter and to get away.
Were there any other weapons used besides a gun?
Well, you could use anything you wanted. I mean, but a gun was I think the favorite thing to use. You know, you can use a knife. You can use different things. But a knife, it's contact.
Very intimate. Very intimate.
It's very intimate, and it becomes a fight. He's taller, he's bigger than me, he's stronger than me. So I come up with him with a knife. He's liable to turn that fucking thing around. You know, even if he got stuck a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're going to get shot. No, I don't give a shit what muscles you got, what you are.
Yeah.
A bullet.
Especially in the back of the head. It's
In the head, it's instant.
Yeah.
But even in the body, I used to carry a 357 Magnum.
Wow. Yeah, that'd do it.
Now, I don't want to keep using you as an example, but if I shot him at this distance in his arm, I could probably blow his fucking arm off.
Right.
It's that powerful.
Yeah.
I could stop a car if I hit it in the front with the radiator or anything, the fucking whole thing will blow up in the front. That's how powerful it is.
Yeah.
You could hit me from your distance, you'd knock me through this fucking wall if it hit me in the chest.
Yeah.
So I don't want to play. I don't want to fight with a knife. You know.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys carried guns, and there was that old thing. You brought a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're fucked.
The of course downside to being using a gun is the noise. Was there a way you guys would mediate it?
We
Silencers,
had
suppressors?
silencers. We had silencers. We had shops, you know, that they can make a silencer.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't as good as the other ones. Now, you couldn't buy it unless you were military or cops or stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But they were able to sell it to people in other countries.
Yeah.
So we would buy it from other countries, and that's a beautiful silence.
Yeah.
You don't hear nothing.
Right.
You know, as you just hear a little tap. I don't want to tap on the table, but that's all you'll hear is a little. That's it.
Yeah.
Were the hits ever? Was there ever any confrontation, or was it always more of like a sneak attack?
Well, it's really not a sneak attack. It depends on how you plan this thing.
Okay.
So, again, I'm going to use you as an example. You want me to use him?
Yeah.
Let's
I
use
prefer
him.
to use him.
Use him. All right, I'll use you. Let's assume I got your head.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to know where you live. I'm going to know the car you drive. I'm going to know that you come to this office. When you come and you do work, I'm going to know you're married. You have kids. Where your kids go to school. Where your wife works. If you have a girlfriend, I'm going to know when you go to her house. We're creatures of habit. You want to bang your girl? You're going to go there every Tuesday, and some Tuesday you'll walk out and we're there. It's over. I'm going to plan it to a fucking T. And I'm going to protect the shooter, whoever is going to be the shooter. And it's not important. It could be any one of us. You know, somebody will say, well, you never shot. The guy who's the biggest danger is the planner. He makes it happen. Anybody can pull a trigger, especially once you've done it. So the important part is not, well, he pulled the trigger, but he can't. Yes, he could. Or if you think he can, then do something and then stand right in front of him. You'll see if he can pull the trigger. But it's not, everybody has a position.
And everybody is liable for the hit. I mean,
Yeah,
in the eyes of the law, criminally speaking.
Everybody does life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. You're on the street with a gun. You're putting your balls up. It doesn't matter who's the shooter and who's not the shooter. You'll hear guys saying, "Well, he's not the shooter."
Yeah.
It don't matter.
It don't matter.
No.
In the setting of organized crime, are these hits typically executed against other crime members, other made men? Or were there situations where these types of hits were put out on people outside of a family?
Are you asking about like civilians or?
Sure. Are there hits placed against? What are the laws either prohibiting or allowing a hit to be placed on a civilian? That's a good question.
Well, it depends on what the civilian did. It would have to be drastic. Usually, we have to live by rules. You live by the rules, you die by the rules. You break those rules, and you could die. We're all made men. I'm not allowed to raise my hands to him. If I do, he could fight back. And if he could kill me, kill me. Because I'm the first guy who raised his hands. And I might get killed even if that fight don't happen, you know, it's broken up. I raise my hands against him first. He could talk to his captain. His captain could say, Sammy raised his hands to a friend of ours, meaning a made guy. And I would get killed later on.
And the decision is always a top-down decision, meaning does the boss have to, if a made man raises his hands to another and a decision is brought that guy has to go, is that always a decision that has to come from the boss?
It always comes up from the top and down. And yes, it's supposed to go that way all the time. And they do that because they don't. Sometimes they don't want to kill. Sometimes I sat down. My captain when I got made was Toto Arello, and he took me in the backyard, almost like the Godfather, where he was talking to me and teaching me and schooling me. And one day he says, you know, I got transferred from the Colombo family to the Gambino family because of an incident.
Sure.
And he said, come in the backyard tomorrow. I got a meeting and I want you to just sit there, don't say a word, and just listen. So I sat there. And a guy came in and he's talking about his friend wanting to fuck around with his wife. So Toto listened to the whole story. He told the guy, you could talk in front of Sam. He listened to the whole story and he said, don't do anything. I'll get back to you. And he made him leave. He said, if you were me right now, what would you do? Get a couple of young thugs like me and go to the other guy who was trying to fuck around with his wife and give him a fucking beating, a good beating. He said, good. I know you got balls. Now I know you're stupid. I loved the guy. I mean, he was my mentor. And I was like blown away when he said that. Then he said, tomorrow come over here. I'm having the other guy come down. And the other guy comes down and tells his story. I didn't do that. I said his wife is beautiful on the inside and outside. She's a beautiful person. I wasn't hitting on her. He's my best friend. He took this whole fucking thing wrong. Even she had sent a message to somebody that the guy didn't do that. He overreacted.
Mm.
So I heard that. So he says, what the fuck would you do now?
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe one of them's lying. I don't know. He said, good. Let's say one of them's lying. You can't make a decision. You have to hear. You got two ears for a reason. Hear both sides before you make a decision.
Mm.
We use violence. We use it as a last resort, especially with things like this. He said, come to the next meeting. I came to the next meeting. He had both of them there. They both talked. The other guy realized he really wasn't trying to make his wife, and they actually, one of them actually was crying and hugging each other. They realized it was a mistake. They didn't realize that somebody could get hurt bad, but they realized they made a mistake, and they left. So he says, now I'm going to tell you what you said. You would have went down and hurt that guy. Beat him up real bad. You would have been wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You would have hurt this guy for nothing. Don't react to things. Listen to both sides. Listen to it together. And when you make up your mind, you can use violence as a last resort. At least you're going to be right. Or you're going to feel right. Mm-hmm. How the fuck would you feel, now that you know the story, if you would have hurt that first guy when you said you wanted to hurt him? I said, Tano, I agree. I would have felt fucked up. I would have said, this poor fuck, he's complimenting her because he likes her, he respects her, he respects his friend, he loves his friend. He's happy that the friend is married to her. She's a good woman. Yeah, I would have felt like a piece of shit.
Mm.
You know, you can't go back and unbreak his leg or his arm or his jaw.
Mm-hmm.
That's damage. And then he told me, he said, let me tell you something. When you point a gun at somebody and you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out. You can't stop it midair. It'll hit its target and do damage. Same thing with your mouth. Words are the same thing. You say something to somebody, you can't take it back. It'll hit that person and do damage. It may break up your friendship. It may do things.
Mm-hmm.
These things are important in life. And you got to look at that. When we get mad, we are able to say any fucking stupid shit to the guy and not really meaning it. You're just in your heat of the argument or something. You might say something, but you can't take that back.
Yeah.
You know, over time you could get away from that,
Yeah.
and make up friends and stuff, but there are things that are permanent that hurt people. The gun, your mouth. So if you're ever going to sit in my seat, because he was a captain, he was my boss, I was already made, he said, make sure you know what the fuck you're doing.
Mm.
Always. And then if you're confused, go up and bring it up to other people.
It's very wise.
Yeah, and let them think for you. Let them think maybe you're making the wrong decision. When you kill somebody, it's permanent.
I'm hearing a lot of words: respect, family. How important is the concept of respect and truly the concept of family in organized crime? It seems as though a lot of times, I mean, in movies we see this, and oftentimes I think we are exposed and glorified to the violence and the, shall we say, the negative sides of organized crime. Are there any positive parts of that lifestyle that taught you lessons that you applied outside of the obvious violence and negative, but positive things in your life?
Yes, 100 things. Loyalty, friendship, honor, respect. Those things are the most important things in the world. It goes into business. It goes into everything you are. I owned 5 businesses when I became bigger in the mob. And it was not because people feared me. Like I said, we could all pull the trigger. You know, I sat down. If he's a killer, I sat down with him. I'm not afraid of him. Matter of fact, I respect him. I like that he's a tough guy. I relate to tough guys more than I do other people.
Yeah.
But I'm always on the up and up with things. And this is what rules too. You don't double cross your friend. You don't. Maybe you do it to other people. You rob them. But not to your friends and people like that. The hardest thing in the world to get is for people to fear you. They should, to a point. Love you and respect you. It's a hard package to put together. You're the only one who could do that. It's how you do business. It's how you live up to your word. People respect those things. And if you're always there for them and you're always living up to your word, they'll love you.
Yeah.
But fear is the first thing. They should fear you a little bit. And then respect comes after that. And then love comes because they're not afraid, even though they know you're a killer, they're not afraid of you. You're an honest guy. You wouldn't beat him, you wouldn't rob him. And you're there every time he has a problem. I don't know, we saw this movie, maybe you'll remember this movie, where one guy comes in the room and he says, listen, I need you to come with me. We're going to hurt people.
The town.
The town.
The town.
Yeah.
Whose cow are we going to take?
We're going to hurt people. I can never tell you why or who or what.
Yes.
And the guy looks at him out of love and respect, and he turns around. He says, whose car we're going to use? He loves you. He respects you. He's willing to go out and kill with you if he has to.
Yep.
So that's a bond you build in the mob. There's business things I've learned, sit-downs. I was just talking to Amina about it. We went to a business meeting the other day, and the guy says, Sammy, says, you're fucking a great negotiator. You know, you're very, very smart business-wise, and you're a good negotiator. So Amina asked me as we were driving there, why did he say that to you? I said, because here's what sit-downs do. I go to a meeting. I know what you want. I came here. I know what you want. And I want to make a deal with you. Now, if I know what you want, I'm not going to ask for things I wouldn't do if I was you. So I know what you want. I know what I want. And I know someplace in the middle we can make a deal. And those deals are usually very honorable. I don't want to take advantage of you because eventually I'll have a problem. You won't respect me. If I say I'm going to be here, I come here and do what I can do. Now, you would probably respect that because I'm doing what you want me to do. And for me, I love the way you set up your studios and stuff. I'm going to expand. I may come back to you and say, listen, could you help me? I love the way you have these mics. I love the way you do this, that, and the other thing. And that builds relationships with people. But if you're a dick, you can't build a relationship with people. And a fear factor a little bit. You guys just all work out. You keep yourself in shape. You don't go around abusing people, but it does push a little bit of, I don't want to fuck with this guy. So fear has a little bit of a place in all of it, as long as you don't overdo it and try to bully people.
Yeah. My favorite movie, one of them of all time, is A Bronx Tale. And it was one of the questions I wanted to make sure that I asked you coming in here. The famous question from the film, when he asks him, is it better to be feared or loved? How would you answer that question?
Feared.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Feared, because you're never going to be loved without the fear factor. Your fear factor, people, you have to, listen, your kid's growing up. Fear is not just a word that's the worst thing in the world. Mm-hmm. He fears his dad. He knows if he does X, Y, D, his dad will give him a good whack in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Or he'd be punished. So he's afraid of those things. I don't mean fear in a way that he's horrified of his dad, but there's a fear. A fear factor starts everything, relationships. A woman, you go with a woman, you know, she thinks you're a fucking pussy or something, she's going to shit on you all over the place. She's got to fear you a little bit. She's got to fear that you're enough man not to beat her, not to hit a woman, but to walk the fuck away. Take a fucking walk and you're going to walk away. She knows he'll do that. Some other guy won't. So she won't respect him as much as she respects him. And it's a fear factor. And it doesn't have to be that the person you're dealing with is horrified, terrified of you. Fear is a big word in reality. So I think that fear is more important than being loved because it starts with fear, like I said. And if you're an honorable person with everybody, they lose the fear of you and they love you. But they keep that fear, it's always there a little bit because they always know this person is tough enough to walk away, to not bother with you no more, or break your fucking face. One of them.
Right.
And it's interesting you use that analogy of a father because I think even biblically speaking, the word fear and respect are synonymous.
Yes.
The fear of the Lord is not just, you know, being afraid. It's also having that reverence and respect for that position.
Exactly. So fear is a big word. It's not what people say, oh, this guy wants to scare the shit out of everybody. No, I don't. But you do know that who I am, what I did. I don't mind having that fear factor with me. And after a while, when you start dealing with me, everybody that I know, they lose that fear factor. Because they know I would never hurt them or do anything against them that would hurt them.
Right.
Unjustly.
Yeah, unjustly.
Yeah.
So in other words, you would really have to fuck with me or do something crazy or whatever and to bring that side of me out. You know, I have two sides. I have two personalities. This side, I'm a lion. On this side, I'm a fucking a little
lamb. Yeah.
You know, and then they say, well, which one wins? It's the one you feed. So I don't want to be a lion and rip you apart or do anything normally, you know. So I always control that. I don't feed that. If somebody's arguing with me and says something and I hear this fucking lion, show them what you are. Shut the fuck up. That's not necessary. Shut up. I don't feed him. I won't say, all right, yeah, you're right. No, I don't feed him.
Important to have both sides, though. Always. You don't want to starve one and only feed the other, but you don't want to feed one more than the other.
Right. Let me tell you one more thing about that.
Yeah.
Because in the zoo, there's a lion. They called him Leo. It was Leo the lion. And the thing, they got it from the jungle. It was wild lion. They almost tamed it. It was like a big pussycat.
Yeah.
The girls, they loved the high voice of the girls, and he'd come against the cage and rub, and they would pet him. So one of them girls got so ballsy, she's not only petting him, she's near the face, and one day she just goes right across his lips, and his tongue comes out and licks her. He loves her. Now there's a guy with a blue suit who comes down, and every time he doesn't feel good, this guy comes down and he gets pinched. But after he gets pinched, he feels better. He don't know what's going on, but he knows that this guy helps him. He likes that guy too. One day they hire a guy, and he comes in and he wants to clean the pen. And he tells Leo, Move. Go back in the thing. I have to clean it. Leo, don't move. Tells him another time. He don't move. He kicks Leo in the face. Leo grabs his leg and he's ripping it off. They're finally shooting water at him. Leo backs away a little bit. They get him loose and he's bleeding. He's going to lose his leg. One of the girls leans down and she says, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Leo is a fucking lion. You kick him in the face?" So, you know, you have to watch the thing. So fear in a person, in a lion, in an animal, you got to respect those things. Like he's saying in the Bible, you got to respect certain things.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't teach you there's heaven and there's hell. Heaven is a beautiful place for good people. Hell, you're going to be tortured. You know, I think that's all bullshit. But to be honest, you know, but they give you that fear factor.
Yeah.
So
Transitioning to your relationship with John Gotti and the progression of your time in the Mafia, becoming underboss and getting to really the culmination of your time in organized crime. First of all, how were you first introduced to John? How did that relationship start, and how did it progress? And then ultimately, how did it end?
Well, it started, I had a friend of mine who was in prison, and he robbed some drugs or somebody off of black guys. And the black guys were going to hurt him. John Gotti was in jail with him and another guy. The guy went over to John Gotti and said, this guy's a good friend of Sammy the Bulls. This guy was going to get hurt. And John Gotti went to the head of the black guys and said, "Listen, the guy, he robbed you, and I'm going to make up the money. I want you to leave him alone. He's a friend of a friend. Please, do me that favor. And I'm going to give you the money that he robs you, and I'm going to give him a crack in the face so he'll never do this again." And they agreed. So I found that out. And when he got out of prison, I got made in 1976. 1 year later, at a Christmas party, Tato said, "I never had an acting captain, but I think it's time in my life that I had an acting captain." And he said, "My acting captain is going to be Sammy the Bull." Now, I got made the same time as his son. There was guys who were in his crew for years. So like it was like I came from nowhere. In 1 year, I was the acting captain for him. John Gotti, I was friends with, very close with this guy, Frankie DeChico. Anytime he opened up a club, I came, did a little gambling, drank, talked to people. I always backed him when he did something. It was really close. And I was in his club. The door opened up. I was talking to Frankie DeChico's father, who's a made guy, Boozy. The door opened up, and John Gotti walked in with 4 or 5 guys. He had just gotten out of prison. And he got made a year after me in 77, I believe it was. So I was already made. And Boozy said, "Do you know who this kid is?" So I said, "Who is he?" He says, "That's John Gotti. He's a good kid, Sammy. Just did a small bit, and he's going to become one of us." So I says, "Listen, I'm glad you said that because I know of him. He helped a friend of mine in prison." So as he came in, he went to Boozy, shook his hand, and I shook his hand. I said, "John, I want to buy you a drink." I bought him a drink. I said, "You helped a friend of mine. I appreciate that a lot." And he said, "You're Sammy the Bull." "Yeah." And he says, "Oh, bro." And that's where I met. We became friendly and close. I didn't grow up with him. So I knew of his name, but I didn't know him personally. And that's how we really met. And then he did get made, and we're now brothers in the brotherhood, in the secret society. We're brothers. So every time I see him, we know each other and stuff, and we became pretty friendly. A little later on in life, Angelo Ruggiero, his guy, the house was bugged, and they had tapes of drug deals that were big drug deals, heroin, every fucking thing. And they not only got caught talking about drugs, they got caught talking about the commission, the bosses, this, that, and the other thing. The tapes were brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in trouble.
Yeah.
They could die for that. And more than likely they would. So this guy, DB, who was a made guy, came to me and said, Sammy, Angelo wants to see you in Queens. You want to go see him? Yeah, sure. So I went to Queens, and Angelo Ruggiero was on a corner. I pulled up. I saw him. I pulled my car over. I got out, walked over, shook his hand. Hey, Ange, how's everything going? He said, Sammy, you know about our problems? Yeah, I do. We all know. Yeah. He's got serious problems. And he said, I need your help. To do what? We're going to take the boss out, Paul Castellano. So I said, you're going to take the boss out. He's the boss of bosses. He's the boss of all the bosses. You're going to take him out. You. He said, me and John. So John is in on it. Yeah. Why the fuck ain't he here to talk with me and ask about... James, this isn't a fucking favor. You're killing the boss of bosses. Mm-hmm. A favor is, Sammy, could you pick me up a container of milk on the way home? That's a favor. Mm-hmm. This is not a fucking favor, bro. Mm-hmm. And you're asking me something like that. I'm a little disturbed that he's not here. Well, he was busy. What the fuck was more important than asking me for my help with my crew to kill the boss of bosses?
Right.
What was he doing? So I said, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, Ange. I'm not going to tell anybody that we had this meeting. But I'm going, when I leave you now, I'm going straight over Frankie DeChico's house. And I'm going to talk with him. He says, he'll be with us, Sammy. You'll see. All right. We'll see. I said, but I'm not telling you yes, and I'm not telling you no. But, so I went straight to Frankie DeChico's house. He was a powerhouse. Now, a lot of people, John Gotti was tough, and he had a tough crew. I was tough, I had a tough crew. Put me and John together and our crews. We're not a pimple on Frankie DeChico's ass. Mm-hmm. I'm not embarrassed to say that. He was the man.
Mm-hmm. And his position at this time was what exactly?
A captain.
He was a captain, okay.
And a tough bastard. Mm-hmm. About 14 years older than me. He was like a big brother to me. Anytime I ever had trouble with anything, I would turn around and bunk into him. He's there. Mm-hmm. All the time. So I went to him. So he got a little mad. He said, then John wasn't there. I said, no. And we talked. He said, Sammy, Paul made a lot of mistakes. He's going to wipe out John and his whole crew. You know that. Yeah, more than likely, yes. He said, I think it's time to take Paul out, to take over the family, bring it back what it's supposed to be. We saved John Gotti and his crew. My crew, your crew. We join him, and we take this guy out. He said, Sammy, you did some personal things with your life and your family. Don't forget that. I said, Bo, I'll never forget that. But I'm not doing this out of revenge. If it's the right thing to do, goes Nostra-wise, I'll be in. But I'm not doing this for revenge. I don't want that on my record. Mm-hmm. And if we do this, I didn't do drugs. I didn't break all those rules. You didn't. You should be the boss. You tell me you'll be the boss, I'm in. He said, no, I can't tell you that. John Gotti's got an ego like the Empire State Building. I could be his underboss. He can't be mine. Mm-hmm. We'll have problems from day one. But this I will tell you. We do this, we make John the boss. He's got balls. He's got brains. Me and you will be the power behind the throne. we'll make him the boss. I'll be the underboss. You'll immediately be a full-blown captain, and then you'll be the gunzlier of the family. Is that the way you want it? And I'm going to add one more thing. If he doesn't act the right way as a boss, if he acts like a jerk-off that he's running around all with his fancy fucking clothes and all this bullshit, I give you my word, we'll kill him, I'll be the boss, and I'll make you my underboss. I put my hand out. We shook hands. And that started our thing to take the boss down. Now, we knew what we were up against. He had connections in Italy and Sicily, family and connections. So you might be fighting them. You'll be fighting all the other families. It's the golden rule is killing a boss. And maybe a good part of our family. He was close with the Irish people, the Westies. We might be fighting them too. So we're taking on a pack of fucking lions. Not one, not two, a pack of lions. We're going to be in a fucking war. From the minute it starts, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I have no idea. How many of us are going to die? Some of our crews are going to die. We shook hands. He made an appointment with John Gotti to meet us in Brooklyn without Angelo. John Gotti came down and met us. Frankie DeChico did the talking. He said, you know what Angelo told Sammy? Yeah, absolutely. How much do you respect Sammy that you didn't show up to the fucking meeting of that magnitude? You just showed Sammy respect. Frankie my fucking ass. What we will do, we'll do this. We'll make you the boss. Me and Sammy will be the power behind the throne. We'll tell you what to do. John looked at him. Frankie, yes. Sammy, I apologize, yes. We went 8 months of planning. It took forever. They went to Neil Delacroce to get his... He wouldn't budge. The answer was no. He said, that's against Cosa Nostra itself. Then he told John Gotti one time, you guys dealt drugs. You guys broke the fucking rule. Now you want to kill him? What in the fuck did he do? My answer is no. I'll sit for you. I don't know if I can save you. You have a problem. Or you could run. Neil got sick. But he would never agree to this hit. I left Tato out. I didn't want to tell Tato because I didn't want to make him part of this war that we were about to go in. Because more than likely I felt everybody who participated in this murder, killing a boss of the bosses, we would all be killed. A real good chance. Mm-hmm. I love Tato like a father, like my mentor, and I didn't want him in this. I wanted him excluded. Mm-hmm. So he didn't have to know anything. I didn't put it on record with him. Frankie DeChico did the same thing. After a short period of time, I believe it was in October, Frankie DeChico said, Sammy, we're talking to too many people. I'm starting to get like, if this leaks out, we're going to get whacked. Here's what I want to do. Joe Watts has got this mansion he lives in. They got maid's quarters. We'll throw the maid out. Me and you, with Frankie Botts, we'll live in the basement. Tell your crew, don't tell them what's going on, but tell them that if somebody comes and wants a meeting with you in such and such a place at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. Let them give you that message. If I get the same kind of a message a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, my crew is being told they want me to go, we're going to get hit. So we don't go to these meetings, and the war is on. Okay, so in October I was at a party for my niece with my family, and I grabbed my wife and I said, babe, come here. When I go home now, I'm going to get my clothes and I'm going to leave for a while. How long? I don't know. A week, a month, a year. I may never come home. What do you mean? Listen, how many times I tell you, stop asking me questions? For me to talk to you like this, it's important. And I don't want you to know nothing. People will talk to you. Don't believe what you read in the paper. If you hear I'm dead, you hear all these things. Don't believe nothing. People will come to you. My brother-in-law, who's a May guy, Big Louie, who's a captain, they'll come to you and they'll talk to you. You believe that. Don't believe anybody else. Don't talk to anybody about it. You don't know where I am. We're not going to talk. And she said, okay. So we moved into this house. And we were going to fight now. Still planning and still trying to put it together and trying to get other people. We got this guy, Joe Piney, who's an old-timer, captain. And all of the old-timers loved him. So if we won him over to be on our side, we would have a lot of strength after we made the hit. He came in with us. The guy Joe Gallo was the Gonziera family. He was the true betrayer of Paul. He saw the power, and he said, I don't want to be involved, but after you do what you do, I'll be with you. So he wasn't going to be any active player. He was going to sit down and play the fucking fence. So we didn't really trust him. But as long as he wasn't going to do anything after the hit. And we worked on this planning. We had different plans. This guy, Joe Watts, says we could all go to Paul's house. We always go in and out. So a couple of us go in, and we could take him out in the house. I said, no, I am not doing that. No, forget it. What do we do with his wife? What do we do with his daughter? We kill them too? The fuck out. If that's what you're talking about, I'm out. Frankie says, I'm out too. We don't do that. We'll get him someplace. Deeper into it, make a long story short, Paul had a case. He was fighting a case, going back and forth to court. And he put together a meeting, and he invited Frankie DeChico in Sparks Steakhouse. There was guys he was going to bring there, Jimmy Brown, Danny Marino, Frankie DeChico, a few other guys, Johnny Gammarano, all to be in this thing. So we were by Joe Watts' house. John Gotti, Frankie DeChico, me. And we talked, and I said, listen, that's perfect. John said, what do you mean? We can hit him right there. We know the day he wants it, the time he wants it, the place that he wants it. You can't park. So he's going to have to pull up right in front of the place, give the car to the guy who goes and parks the cars, and we know exactly where he's going to park. So John said, Sammy, there'll be tens of thousands of people. It's December 16th. Then the people are going to come out of those buildings. They're not going to go home. They meet their families. They're going to go Christmas shopping, the lighting of the tree, all these things. And there's cops all over the fucking place. I said, I know. But the confusion is going to work in our favor. he didn't like it. Frankie the Chico said, Sammy's been in 2 mafia wars already. This will be the 3rd one. I like his plan. If you don't like it, John, you got the problem. You do it. You handle it. Me and Sammy are out. No, Frankie, please. He says, we'll go along with it. I started putting things together. We all did. John was going to be my driver. I would be in the car with a walkie-talkie, talking till we put 11 people together. Right before the hit, we put the people we put together. They didn't know what we were going to do. They just knew we were going to do a hit. In the basement of my office in Brooklyn, we met with them all. And we told them Paul Castellano and Tommy Bellotti are going to be in a restaurant. We're going to hit him outside the restaurant before he even goes in. That's the hit. This is a do or die hit. There's a lot of people. There'll be confusion. They'll be running. Don't shoot people. Kill them. They got to go. We can't leave them alive. They have to die. If the cops come, the backup shooters and everybody, we kill the cops. If you're laying on the floor and you're dead, we'll leave you. There's nothing we can do. But we don't pull away until the whole pack of us move. If you move before the pack and you run, keep running, because as soon as we get you, we'll kill you. Everybody, we live there, we do this together, or we die there together. If that happens, we make history. One of the guys looked at me and said, Sammy, can I say something? I said, yeah, go ahead. He said, Sammy, we'll do this. And if it doesn't work, I'll meet you in fucking hell. I said, perfect. You hear what he said? Did you all hear that? We'll all meet in fucking hell if this thing don't work. Or we'll all get away. But they're going to die. And that's on December 16th. In front of Spark Steakhouse. It made history around the world. None of us died, except for Paul and Tommy Bellotti, and no innocent people got hit. No cops got hit. Nothing. It was the perfect hit. Everything I planned and said, not because it came from me, it just worked that way. Masses and masses of people. The confusion when the shots started to ring out was so fucking tremendous. They were falling over each other to get away. Cops couldn't even get near it. There were so many people running. They didn't even know what the fuck was going on. So it happened to work, thank God for us. And that was the Castellano hit. And we didn't go home, me and Frankie, until December 24th, because we knew now the war was on. Frankie said to me, said, Sammy, we got Joe Watts, he had a jeweler connection, and I got some jewelry for my wife, and Frankie got for his wife, and we would send them home for Christmas presents to our wives, because we weren't going home. And I hear that my wife, when it came out about Castellano being killed, I was already gone since October. She fainted. She said, oh my God, that has to be him. That's why did he come home. That's why he's not communicating with me. It's got to be. She knew the life. She knew I was friendly with him. So, and then on December 24th, Frankie says, we got some of your guys, some of my guys. We'll have the guys take you home in a car. I'll have 5 cars following you. And then when I go home to my house, we'll have 5 cars following me. Let's spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with our family before we start this whole fucking thing. Then we'll get picked up will come out. We'll start reaching everybody in the family and everybody all over the fucking place. And we denied that we knew anything. We made a date, and we got all the captains together. Somebody had a connection in a public school when the school was closed at night. Down the basement, all these captains met, and Frankie made the first vote. He says, I vote for John Gotti to be the new representative, the new boss of the family. I had a gun, and I was standing behind guys. I was still only an acting captain. Angelo was behind other guys with a gun. All these guys, they knew who the fuck did what and whatever, and why we were standing there. So went around the thing. Everybody voted him to be the boss. So he was voted in that night. That night he made Frankie the Chico the underboss. And that night he was going to make me a captain. But before, he says, you want to talk to, I says, let me talk to Toto first. So I met with Toto. And he still didn't know who did what. And I was in a car with him. And he said, Sammy, whoever broke this golden rule, this is going to be a fucking nightmare. This is going to be a major war. I said, don't worry about it, Toto. Nobody's going to do nothing to you. I got you. And he turned and he said, you got me? I said, yeah. I won't ever let nobody hurt you. Mm-hmm. He looked at me, hesitated, and he's an old wise fox. And he said, Sammy, you got something to do with this? Yeah. I'm part of the hit team. I planned it. He said, from this day on, don't trust no one. No one. You're going to be in a fucking war that's unreal. He said, make an appointment with John Gotti here, that John Gotti was the boss and Frankie the Chico was the underboss. Now, make an appointment with them. I want to sit down with them and talk with them. I want to step down. No, you don't have to step down, Toto. I'm going to be a captain anyway. Don't step down. He said, no, I want no part of this, breaking this rule. Just like Neil. Mm. True goes in Austria. He said, I'm not afraid. But young guys, you guys take over. Mm-hmm. Don't trust anybody, Sammy. No one. Mm. I made an appointment with Frankie the Chico and John Gotti with Toto. I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And he said to them he wanted to step down. Yeah. They loved him and they said, okay, you don't have to. He says, I want to. Okay. Would you want to be with us, with administration now? You want to be directly under us? He said, no. I want Sammy. You said you were going to make him a captain. Yes. Let him take my position as a captain and let me be under him. They said, okay. They came down that day, Frankie the Chico with Toto, and he said, Sammy, from today on, you're a captain. You're a Gabrigine. Toto is in your crew. You're taking over Toto's crew. He's in your crew, under you. His son and the whole crew. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. And that's what happened. That I was a captain now, full blown.
And Sammy, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but I know you got a 1 p.m. hard stop, and I want to make sure Nina knows that we got to stop there. Oh, she's right around the corner. But thank you, seriously.
It's my pleasure. And someday we get together and we can do this again if you
That'd be awesome.
That would seriously... Yeah. A part 2 is something I would give anything for. To this, first and foremost, I want to say
now, could I? That's going to be on tape when he says I would give anything.
Truly, your storytelling ability, and I know you've started your podcast, you're doing it. It is gonna erupt. You have a truly gift. You have a gift for storytelling. It is gripping hearing this. We've done 91 episodes, and I've heard countless people say, I've never experienced something like this. So thank you for giving us your time, your story, and telling us everything.
Really appreciate it.
We really got to do a part 2.
I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
I told you I'd be here. We met one time earlier.
We did, yeah. Brian show.
You were doing some stand-up comedy.
Yeah. I did a little stand-up.
Yeah.
Man, that was fun. And thank you again to Brian. We got to make sure we reach out to him and say thank you for the hookup and for putting us together like this.
Yeah.
This is so cool, man. I just love this. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Well, my pleasure, and your fans, great fans, and I wish them, a lot of love.
Yes, indeed. All right, buddy. We'll stop it right there. Thank you guys so much for watching that episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. If you like the content and you want to see more of it, hit the like and subscribe. Activate that notification bell as well. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to see more of it, we actually have the Becoming the 1% Instagram, and the podcast is available on Spotify. For our socials, we have Strict Vision Athletics on Instagram, we have it on YouTube, and we have it on TikTok.